Let's talk about zoning. When it comes to fighting games, there's generally 3 different archetypes that make up the majority of a game's roster: rushdown, grapplers, and zoners. While there are characters that lie outside of these archetypes, and some that have mixtures of several of them, you can generally point to these 3 archetypes to describe characters and sometimes even players. Oh, this person plays grapplers. They're a rushdown player. This guy generally plays shodos. These phrases are able to help us understand this person's playstyle without even seeing them play. They also generally conjure up a specific image in people's heads. While some of these phrases make you think of absolutely beautiful and astounding individuals like myself, some other words may make you think of less desirable individuals. I'm gonna be real with you for a second. I don't like zoning my opponents. Personally, I like getting in my opponent's face extremely quickly, making them fumble and founder as I hit them with as many moves as I can, landing massive counter hits and converting into devastating combos. This kind of playstyle requires me to be in the mid-range or right in my opponent's face, and it's why I tend to gravitate towards characters with fast approach options and good mobility tools. Giovanna, Jury, Trunks, all of these characters revolve around either whiff punishing or getting close to your opponent and pressuring them to make a mistake. They all also have unique approach options that allow them to get into their preferred range extremely quickly and punish the opponent for making mistakes at further edges of the screen. It's also why I tend to dislike slower, heavier characters that rely on edging across the screen until they get into their preferred range so they can begin running their game plan, which is of course turn your whole life bar grey with a single combo or even a single move. But these characters are generally well liked in most circles of the FGC. Casual players go crazy when they see them being played at high level and will generally root for them when they don't know who either player is. So, what's the antithesis of this? Well, it would be someone who runs away, throws out projectiles, pushes you to the edge of the screen, is British. Oh, hey, Axel. It's no secret that most zoners and zoner players aren't very well liked in the FGC and related circles, to the point where people will say things like, "This character takes no skill, anybody could win with them," and "They're killing the game, we need to ban this character," and "This motion input is gatekeeping, can we have something easier, please?" While I understand that the appeal for these games for a lot of people is seeing flashy combos with big fucking numbers, you need to understand that there's an essential piece of balance for the metagame that zoners bring to the table and needs to be respected. Different archetypes naturally test different parts of players in order to get their win. A rushdown character will test your reaction times and ability to block. Grapplers test your mental ability to stay calm and not do silly options, as well as testing your ability to read the opponent. So, what do zoners test? Patience. In most fighting games, the zoners will start in a position that is more advantageous to them, generally having moves that are able to reach round start relatively quickly, or moves that cover an option as well as advance them backwards in order to get them to a safe position. As long as the enemy doesn't completely counter whatever option the zoner chooses, it's entirely possible that they'll take control of the match from basically round start. If this happens, we enter the phase of the match I like to call the mountain climb. Characters in fighting games generally have a pretty wide range of matchups, with some being easy and some being difficult, but just looking at the numbers doesn't give you the full picture of how a matchup is played out. Like, I'm not an expert on Giovanna or any of the matchups in the game, so take this with a pinch of salt, but I would say that Gio vs Axel and Gio vs Angie are both 6-4 matchups in Gio's favor, but for very different reasons. If you don't know how a matchup spread works, basically if 2 players at equal skill were to play the game 10 times, Giovanna would win 6 times and the other player would win 4 times. Against Angie, there's a chance that you'll have to deal with his Fujin mix along with some hit throws, but the majority of the match is going to be in your favor, as he is forced to commit to most options, which can all be punished in different ways. Against Axel, however, you have to consistently push your way in and react to what he throws at you until you finally find your opening and blaze through, taking his health bar with you. The hardest part of the matchup is actually getting into your range to stuff his options, rather than waiting for him to commit to an option that you can counter. It's like taking a walk down a street versus climbing a mountain. One is consistent all the way through, and one is steep, but once you climb the mountain, planting the flag is easy. These types of matchups aren't specific to zoners. Grapplers and heavyweights generally make me feel like the same in different ways, but it's good to have these matchups where it's an obvious problem you need to overcome in order to succeed, rather than just playing well for the entire match. Not to mention, zoners bring much needed variety to fighting games. You say you want every match to be high intensity rushdown versus rushdown, but that would make the game tiresome after a while. Like, most people I know can't stick to the same same character for one play session. Can you imagine how burnt out they get if they were doing Onga versus Bunga for every set over several weeks? God, could you imagine if it was Rushdown versus Grappler for every match? I'd actually just want to put my head through some drywall and become one with my house. Oh, it'd be so painful. And like, trust me, I get it. It's not fun constantly chasing someone who's running away and slowly whittling down your health with one wrong move sending you back to the start. I get it, but ain't it satisfying once you finally get your hands on them? Once they finally run out of space, run out of resources, and run out of options. You push them as far as you can, and there's nowhere left to run. Their only option is to sit there and take whatever pressure you have waiting for them, or else they're going to be in a world of hurt. That feeling of finally catching them and taking their health bar down is so goddamn gratifying. You played the game on their terms. Now it's time to play it on mine.
Okay, but zoning takes, like, no skill, though.
What?
Yeah, like, anyone can run back and throw projectiles. It's not really that hard.
Why aren't you playing as Zona then? Like, if it takes no skill, surely everyone would be doing it. Like, if it literally required zero brain function, why wouldn't more people be playing it? Especially new players. Fighting games are notoriously hard to get into. So if playing a Zona was the easiest way to play the game, wouldn't the lowest ranks of the game be filled with Zonas? And wouldn't we see more of them at high level? Like, you're really gonna tell me, after pools in Evo, people aren't gonna be using their meta characters? You're really gonna tell me that the best players in the world aren't just going to use the path of least resistance when it comes to a tournament setting? Go on, show me a pro player who isn't playing their meta main character at a large tournament because they want to win. Okay, bad example, but Punk will still change the Karen, his main and one of the most powerful characters in Street Fighter V, once his tournament run is on the line consistently. CEO, he was playing Vega until he lost and switched to Karen, and then in Frosting Fires he was playing Rose until he lost in top 8 and then switched to Karen. If playing Zonas was so easy and they took no skill, why wasn't he playing them in CEO? Why did he switch off Rose? Have you ever played a Zona? This is a genuine question. I'm a Gorilla Monkey player, and I'm asking you because if you haven't, why don't you try it if it's so easy? Go on, try it. If you're unwilling to try it, the least you could do is go watch this video by Daz in which he, someone who plays Zonas, sometimes, literally goes through his thought process during a section of a match. In 10 seconds, he thinks more than most people I've played in Strive during our entire matches. Daz, if you're watching this, run the set. Besides, you can say this about every playstyle. Oh, Rushdown just runs at you, knocks you down, and flowcharts a mix-up. Oh, Grapplers just hit you with a command grab and they win the game. Oh, Shotos, they fucking vibe too hard. Do I think zoning is cool? No. Get over it. I just want to talk to you about how comfy my knee would feel with your face. Do I think zoning is a valid strategy? Yes, of course. Staying away and peppering your opponent is obviously a way that you can win the fight. Do I think zoning should ever be banned? No, with some exceptions. If it's somehow at the point where you literally can't play the game because there's projectiles to just fill the screen and never let you move and there's no counterplay, then sure, but most modern fighting games will never let that happen. Zoning might not be fun to play for me, and it may not be fun to fight against, but it's something that every fighting game needs at least a little bit of.